Next, we're going to cover a local event, and everything we've discussed so far applies here. On the surface, an event and a news story may seem similar, but there is a major difference. Most news stories just attempt to convey what has just happened up to the present. An event is something that is happening now and will extend into the future, and this adds another dimension to your guerrilla media role as a documentary reporter. An event in progress is an accumulation of smaller events which are also in progress, each telling a portion of the whole story. When you arrive, try to cover these smaller events as individual stories within the larger context and continue for each new development. By the time it is done, you will have an accurate timeline of the event to provide the basis of your report. Good shots aren't random. They are the result of being aware of things that are about to happen before they happen and being ready. Remember, in a live situation, you won't get a second chance to get the shot.
The early part of an event is when to get your setup shots. These usually include banners, signs, costumes, and whatever's set in the mood. Get a few short takes of the same scene from different angles and move on to the next. This is the time to be arty. Try to be aware of saving tape and battery, as it may really be needed later. As the events progress, it's important to pay attention. Most events are somewhat similar to a story or a movie. They'll have a beginning and an end, tension and release, as well as a climax and resolution. It's your job as a videographer to be aware of this and document anything that marks any of these changes to the story. Avoid excessive repetition. Too many choices of the same shot are no choice at all. Set a limit on similar shots and try to stick to it. This will help you save tape and battery and keeps you thinking about the next creative shot. Then only exceed this shot limit for extra special shots. Covering skits and speakers are quite similar. First, you want to get a front row view and a good place to get audio. Get close to an amplified audio source if you can.
I feel free when we're firing missiles at the enemy. I feel free when Bush talks about bombing 50 different countries. I feel so free, I can't stand it.
You'll also have to decide how much of it you want to tape. Watch out for taping more than you need. This can waste a lot of tape that may never get used. If another crew member is covering it more intently, try moving around to get better shots. When covering a march, it's important to get many different angles and perspectives. The biggest problem we've seen is when they're taped from the same part of the march and you don't get to appreciate the dynamics. Get as many different angles and perspectives as possible, like from the front or from the back, from the middle, from across the street, from the highest place you can find, from ground level, facing forward, facing backwards, and standing still. Also, the reactions of passers-by are good to note. Events with elements of political awareness usually seem to attract the cops. You should be aware of what this means in your particular area. You should also be aware of what happened at the last event. Usually, there will be some residue from that experience lingering both with demonstrators and the police.
Now that the cops have entered the scene, your guerrilla media role has expanded again. You are now simultaneously cop watching and reporting. At some point, you can expect to hear
This police tactic is designed to divide and disperse a crowd. Don't be intimidated by it. If the cops don't immediately attack, this is the time to use your more artsy shots. Keep your repetitive shots to a limit, and then wait to see what happens. When the cops start sweeping the street, stay aware and keep an eye on your escape route. Talk with other people to find out what's around the corner and to monitor the larger situation. If the police sweep consists of one line, don't be afraid to approach the front of the line, but don't get boxed in. If the cops attack, keep your taping basic. Stay wide. Hold the camera steady and keep the tape rolling. Use still shots and avoid unnecessary zooms and pans. Don't try to get artsy in the middle of a melee. It's also important to remain calm and alert so you don't compromise your safety or miss the next shot.
One of the most difficult aspects of guerrilla video journalism is taping inside of a melee. To pull this off, it takes a lot of self-discipline and awareness. You'll need to have a solid understanding of camera basics and draw on them from your subconscious while staying focused and aware of the present scene. Another difficult aspect of this is to avoid becoming a part of the event. Usually, when people succumb to the temptation to start yelling back at the cops, their taping quality drops way off. This doesn't help out anybody, especially the people counting on you for video backup. Sometimes, your tape may be the only difference between someone being found innocent or guilty of trumped up charges. So it's really important to take your job seriously. The main thing to focus on is just getting out with just a basic, good, steady shot. To accomplish this, relax as much as possible and breathe deep. You'll need to stay very aware of the situation all around you to both get the best shots and for your own personal safety. Having your camera seized by the cops in these situations is not an option.
With practice, even in a crisis, using the basic camera skills that you've learned earlier will become an automatic response. This will allow you to keep your mind focused on the present scene and getting out of it with some solid video. With all of these skills under your belt, you're now ready to cover a national event.